Hey everyone, Scott Cunningham, aka Scottsy Business. Today we're going to be talking about the many red flags that I see and I look for to determine whether a platform is good when I'm evaluating and reviewing crypto-monetized and blockchain social media platforms. Now, most people are only going to use maybe one, maybe two. Most people are not going to use a lot, right? I'm on 20 plus platforms. I do reviews all the time. And because I do reviews of 100 plus platforms, when I do my comprehensive reviews, I can't spend a ridiculous amount of time reviewing every platform, right? It's just not realistic because I'm still putting out content every day. I'm doing all this other stuff. I also have a job too, right? So realistically, I have to look for indicators as to whether or not a platform is good or bad, and go based off of that. So when people say something like, well, you haven't researched enough or you can't judge off of these few things, well, you really should, right? You don't need to know everything about a platform to decide whether or not you use it. You just have to know whether or not it is good for you. And for me, whether a platform is good for me and what I think is good for you is based on a lot of these, it's more about negations and what I remove if it has a certain red flag, right? And then the ones that are left over, I go more in depth and I review them and break them up into different recommendations. But we're going to be looking at the red flags that I look for. And I've done this before, but I wanted to revisit this because I'm coming out with my next comprehensive review very soon. And I think with the amount of eyeballs on the space right now and the growth of all these different platforms, I think it's going to be a lot more controversial based on my recommendations. So I want to reiterate what the red flags are. And whenever I zero in on a platform and I do a review, people from that platform tend to get really, really upset. And, I get it, but I want to reiterate what I look for so that people understand where I'm coming from when I do these reviews, right? So, I said before, some people say you don't research enough, you can't judge on one thing. Again, you don't need to know everything, and you should judge on a few things because, again, people don't have the time or the energy to be able to risk their money and all this and their time and all this stuff to try out a platform for 6 months and then it goes under or it doesn't work or it's not really being developed. So all the promises from the users fell through. See, here's the thing, right? I'll put out a non-recommendation and people get really upset from those platforms. They'll come out and they'll defend it to the death. And they'll say stuff like, well, you just have to wait. You just have to have faith. You just have to da-da-da-da. Why is it on me to wait for your platform to get better? Or why is it my responsibility for that platform to be better? Why not use the other 10 plus platforms that are already really good and work perfectly and they don't have any of these issues? And it's the same thing with people saying you have to give them more time. Why? There's all these other platforms. They like to make comparisons to like Rome wasn't built in a day, or like, what about the beginning of Windows or Linux when it sucked? It's like, yeah, that's a good comparison, but not in this context because there's already 10 perfectly working Linuxes and Windows. It's not comparable, right? There's already so much out there that is already really good. We don't need a poorly made version of that in the hopes that it might be better eventually. That doesn't make any sense. And, I get it because these people are investing their time into the platform, so they want that to be the case, but they try to force that to be the case. It's like they're not letting it be good because it's good. They're trying to make people believe that it's good in an authoritative way. It's weird. It's like, you must like this platform. People do that a lot when I give my non-recommendations. They're like, no, you should like this platform. And if you don't, you just haven't researched enough, or you're just, you're wrong about this, or you know what I mean? So, and this happens almost every time. So again, that's why I wanted to reiterate what kind of things should you look for and what do I look for to determine if a platform is actually viable or not. And let's just dive into it. So the first one is if a platform is too niche. Now, I will say this. With some platforms you get on and it seems like PublishOX, for example, feels very crypto and blockchain focused. I will say that, right? But you can still post other content on there and make money. I have posted tons of stuff not crypto related and made money as well. You're going to probably make less money because it's not as focused, but as the platforms grow, you'll be able to grow within your category or whatever, right? If you're the only gardener posting to PublishOX, as the platform grows, you will be sort of the authority on that platform for gardening. So don't look at it like, oh, there's no one talking about this, no one wants to see it. Look at it like, oh, there's an opportunity for me to establish myself as the kind of main person for this on this platform. That's the way that people should be approaching it. For this, it's more like, if the platform itself is too niche, not the actual individual content creators that happen to be on the platform at the time. So there's certain platforms that are too specific to certain things, and it doesn't work very well. And you'll see the better explanations for these when I actually go through and explain and show examples of all the platforms. I would do that today, but that would make this video take hours. Lacking media functionality. So there's a lot of platforms that don't let you post pictures or videos, and it's not what social media is supposed to be. And they're just really not there yet. So I wouldn't recommend those. Platforms that are mainly messenger based but claim to be social media platforms, that's not really realistic. You're not going to earn any crypto. It's not really social media. I don't consider communication applications social media, right? While you can still, on group-based social media platforms more messaging platforms like Telegram, in a way it's social media because you're getting out messages to a lot of people, but the amount of people on these platforms is so low that it's only really going to be used for a one-to-one conversation. And most of the people that you would want to have those conversations with probably won't be using it as well. So these aren't really viable and they're not really what we're looking for. So that's why. I don't have anything against messenger platforms. It's just not really in the wheelhouse of what we're looking for being able to earn crypto on social media platforms from posting content. Too much resistance for joining or using the platform. Now, I will say when you're joining Steem and Hive, there is a wait time, which, that gets some people. But it's not so much resistance for joining. So what I mean by that is when I join a platform, if there's all these verification processes, like when I tried to join social chains back in the day, you had to, give your driver's license and you had to do all this stuff to verify your identity, and it flopped and no one used the platform. It's one of the biggest criticisms right now for EOS Voice, because people don't want a KYC. People don't want to give their driver's license just to post on a social media platform. So if you have too much resistance for people to actually join the platform, it's not very useful. Or just, using the platform or whatever it might be. If it's very, very challenging to just log in or use the platform, it's not going to get adopted, right? You might have some people using it, but if the average person can't comprehend it at all, it's not realistic. If the platform, it's pretty obvious, if the platform isn't working correctly, they're lacking users, or they have users, but none of them are active and engaging, it's a dead community. It's not really an active platform. So naturally, those would not be listed as recommended. The platform is invite only. Again, EOS Voice, I wouldn't recommend it because that's not realistic either. You'll never be able to really grow to mass adoption if it's invite only. And it's been invite only for so long, only for US users. I'm in Canada. We're right beside them and they still haven't opened it up and got me on the platform yet. So, puts a pretty sour taste in your mouth when the platform's been out for months. Like, what are they doing? If the platform, oh, sorry, my phone is vibrating here. Let me just turn it off. If the platform requires you to download an application, typically I would say that's not really viable because most people aren't willing to do that, right? Library, I'm happy to, because it's a really great platform and it has millions of users, but they didn't even reach mass adoption until they came out with a browser. So naturally, I don't know how well they would have done if they didn't, right? They went from like 200,000 users to like 2.5 million in a few months because of the browser. I don't know exactly what it was, but just from March, where they hit 1 million, to April, they went to 2.5 million. I can't imagine what they're going to be like at the end of May. So requiring a download generally is going to restrict people from actually using it, unless it's like a mobile download. Then I kind of understand. But if it's like to your desktop, I just don't see that being mass adopted. And I don't know of any major applications that only have a download and require a download and are doing well. So if the platform requires you to spend crypto for every interaction, I don't like that. And I don't think regular people will ever adopt that, because, you're on Twitter, right? You're posting all day. You post 10, 20 times a day. And then you come on to Twitch or MemoCash or whatever platform, and you want to still post 20 times a day. The difference here is now you're paying 30 cents, 50 cents, $1 every day to post. And you're thinking to yourself, why am I spending money? I thought crypto was supposed to make me money. Only if people like your posts on those platforms, which most of them are very, very small and don't have much people on there because people don't like spending money. Go figure. I thought that was obvious, but I don't think they'll ever be mass adopted because of that, because people don't want a downside when they switch to something that's supposed to improve their life. And that's a very obvious resistance point. Platforms that are not English, it's pretty obvious. If they require excessive verification or the verification doesn't work properly. Let me just add properly, because like, for example, with Hyperspace, their verification did work for some users and it didn't work for verifying like Canadian phone numbers, for example. Naturally, Hyperspace got shut down because it wasn't doing very well. Any platform that has really excessive verification or doesn't work for everyone but is required obviously is going to struggle. Again, I've been bashing EOS Voice. Maybe it does good and it'll be the only exception, but I think this is the rule and that could be the exception. But for the most part, and from what I've seen, it's living up to the rule. Most people are like, no, why do I want to go do this? You can't even earn crypto on EOS Voice until they come out of beta. And for example, Steemit is still in beta after 4 years. So if EOS was anything like that, given, again, same creator, if EOS Voice was similar to that, then you won't make cryptocurrency for potentially years and years and years. And that's just really unrealistic to expect people to invest time and money for years in hopes that eventually it will pan out. EOS dApps, I usually don't recommend because most of them don't work. Honestly, most Tron dApps as well for social media. EOS and Tron have been great for gambling and many different things, but they almost never work for social media. The only working social media dApp on Tron, from my perspective and from what I've seen, is Vibra Video or Vibra Vid. And it's a video hosting application and they host music and it works fine. So it's, again, that's an exception to the rule. But for the most part, EOS and Tron dApps do not work. And, if you find one, a social media application that does work on the public EOS chain, right? They don't have to go through hoops to be able to create a side chain just to get their thing to work. Okay, fine. Maybe that's still viable, but the fact that the public chain has been congested for almost a year now, how can anyone rely on that? It's ridiculously unreliable considering they have more money funding them than any project in existence. Billions, I believe. So it's pretty sad that they can't create a good working application on their platforms that people like to use and do use, right? So none of the major platforms are on Tron or EOS that are widely adopted and being used widely. And if it's not free to use, like you have to pay to use it, like Cinnamon Video, for example, which is part of Coil, they make you pay to be able to watch users' videos on there. So, I mean, if it's not free to use, then it's just pointless. Similar to requiring you to spend in crypto, but this is more for like just to be able to open the app and get on. Do you have to spend money to even access it? Is what would fit it in this category. And those are all the red flags. If there's something that you think that I've missed, or that should be changed or done differently, please let me know. I'd be happy to make a correction or modify this as needed. But for the most part, I think this is a very, very good template for you to use when you evaluate a platform and you think, will this platform satisfy the things that I need? And again, one of the easiest ways to check this is, can you withdraw your crypto from the platform? I didn't even write that down here, which is kind of ironic since that's the title. There, unable to withdraw your funds. That is just the easiest way to tell, right? None of these matter if you can't access your crypto. I sort of skipped over this one, fake or valueless blockchain or crypto. I mean, if there isn't really crypto or a blockchain involved in the platform, obviously it's pointless. And if you can't withdraw your funds, it might as well be a fake or valueless blockchain or cryptocurrency. So these almost go hand in hand, but it is important to separate those. Anyways, that's pretty much everything. For the platforms that I use that satisfy almost all of these, there might be one here and there that I've made an exception for, but for the majority of these platforms, they satisfy these conditions. Library, PublishOX, DTube, 3Speak, BitChute, Float, Cause.tv, Memo.cash, Read.cash, Minds, Vibravid, and Uptrend. Minds is challenging to get your crypto out unless you're on Minds Pro. So that is kind of an exception. And MemoCash, you do have to spend for your transactions. But I really like the platform and being able to buy tokens on there for Bitcoin Cash and everything. So I still recommend it, but I would love to see them make that change in the future. So I don't fully recommend this, but I will include it in here because I do use this. This isn't my recommendations. These are the platforms I use, right? I wouldn't recommend all of these, but I do use them myself. So, take that as you will. For the platforms that I actually recommend, it's only the best of the best out of the ones that I use. And I will put all that out in the comprehensive review that I will put out probably in the next month or so. Anyways, guys, that's everything. So let me know in the comments below, again, if there's any corrections that you think need to be made, if you disagree with me on anything. If your argument, though, is something like do more research on a specific platform or just have faith in the platform, it's so good, trust me, those aren't real reasons. You got to give me some evidence. You got to point to something tangible. And if I see that that actually is the case, I'll make the change. And I'll do the same for all of my reviews. And, I do new reviews pretty frequently to make updates for all those kinds of things as well. So anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around. Since you did, please give this video a like. And if you'd like to see more, make sure to subscribe. You can also support me by donating to the addresses below. If you're using an Ethereum wallet, you can send to scottcbusiness.eth. If you're using another wallet like Coinami, Trust Wallet, Atomic Wallet, you can send to scottcbusiness.crypto. On both wallets, I accept Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, and Ripple. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. I'm Scott Cunningham, aka Scottsy Business, signing off. Cheers.